I'm Peggy O'Neill and I'm president of the Richmond Football Club. I'm a lawyer by training. I'm from the United States and moved to Australia in 1989 and I've practiced law here ever since. Make it look good, make the hair lay down, do all that. So, thank you, nice to meet you.
You too.
Like many people, I met an Australian backpacker in a bar in Greece, and he lived in Richmond. And a couple of years after I met him, we were married and eventually moved to Australia. And so that was sort of the journey. It was rather predictable. You know, you're traveling, you meet somebody and change countries. Well, it didn't take long being in Melbourne to figure out that there was this sport that sort of captivated everyone and that everyone had a team. And having moved to Richmond, I thought, well, I'll pick my local team. Richmond was in the press then for sort of the wrong reasons. It was about to go under and there was the Save Our Skins campaign, and I thought, well, I'll get behind my local team. So that was sort of the first interaction. But my first time going to a game was right after this Great Southern Stand was finished, that refurbishment, which was back in the early 90s, 92 or 93. And a good friend of mine said, oh, you ought to go to a game. And so I went and watched Richmond play Melbourne. I remember it, and it was an April afternoon. It was gorgeous, and Richmond lost. But I was still just loved the game and loved the athleticism. And so started going to more and more games and got more and more involved with different levels of membership at the football club. And so before I knew, I was hooked, and I was a mad Richmond supporter like everyone is. Being from the States, I'd never seen a ground that big that people played sport on, and it wasn't bat and ball, it was people running. And so I really liked the athleticism. I liked the community feel of it. I liked the fact that there were lots of women there and that you could go and have a good time on your own, which I did several times. I loved the fact that it was just Melbourne and eventually Australia, but at the time I was sort of just thinking about being a new person in this country and how do you fit in and how do you understand the conversation. And the more I came to learn about this sport, the more I just loved it. So that was little by little and then all in a rush. It was just consumed most of my life, it appears. I always loved sport, but watching it, I can't say I ever set out to be president of the Richmond Football Club. And I was asked to join the board in 2005, and even then it was, well, I'll just do this for a little while, and now I'm the president. And the thing that stands out in my mind is the great people that you meet who work in football, and especially the great team we have at the Richmond Football Club right now. It's a real privilege to be part of that, and I enjoy it. I remember when I started getting involved with the club, and I would tell friends, oh, I'm for Richmond. They said, oh, you should have been here in the 70s. They were good back then. And I thought, well, we'll be good again. I didn't know how long that would take. We decided when I first went on the board in 2005 that financial stability was the #1 thing we had to work on, that there was no chance of on-field success if we didn't get the off-field right. So that meant that we couldn't invest as much in football, but we said, you know, we're not going to spend money we don't have. We're going to live within our means, and we still have thought that, and we still use that same conservative budgeting process. But the board can plan all it wants to, but somebody has to make it happen. And all credit to Damien and coaching staff and Brendan, and that's the hard part, is execution and implementation. And so here we are. On the one hand, really proud, a little bit surprised, but now nothing they do surprises me. They're really accomplished group of people, very capable and very competitive. So, I'm just thrilled to be part of it. Well, I wasn't at the grand final, but I could see the momentum start to build in the last part of the season, just as it has in our other 2 premiership seasons, and this great belief and determination that came in. So probably the game that would have, I guess, concerned me or the most nervous was the Port Adelaide game. Once we went into that pretty strongly, I thought, we'll win a grand final now. Brendan Gale usually says, you're going to jinx us, don't say it, but I always do say it if I feel it. And so I was just thinking we have more than a chance of being premiers again.
Still with Martin.
Afterwards, I felt, well, just great pride for everyone. I felt a little, it's probably about the only time I felt a little sorry for myself that I wasn't out on the ground watching the presentation, because I think up until then it's just a game and you're sitting in the stands and you're watching like a game, and there's a lot at stake. But when you get to be down on the ground and see the presentation and get to touch the cup, that just can't be replicated anywhere else. So when I saw it happening, I thought, oh, I wish I were there. It's the only time I wish that I was there, but Brendan and Damien called me from down on the ground, so it was almost like being there. I could hear a little bit of what was going on. The playing group itself, you'll hear a lot, they talk about connection and about how they put a lot of time into knowing each other and to respecting each other and being role players. It's more than just the words, they really do believe it. And across the whole club is this, we all have the role to play. The person at reception has a role to play, just like Dustin Martin has a role to play, and all of it's valued. Some people get more credit than others, but there's plenty of credit to go around for everyone, and we try to be sure that people understand how valuable they are. I think that sort of evenness of ego almost, that people know that success is a team success, that no individual wins a grand final. It's the whole team has to win the grand final. And for the playing team to win the grand final, it means that administration has to have won the grand final, and it means that the members have to have won the grand. So it all just builds and builds and builds. And right now we're in a spot where all that seems to have come together. But our purpose is connecting to thrive and win. I think anybody who works there, and I would think most all of our 101,000 members would tell you that that's our purpose. So connection, if that happens, then people can thrive, and if you thrive, then you win. And it's deliberate that winning comes last, because that takes care of itself if the other things are in order. Oh, well, it has to be 3 premierships at Richmond. It's not as if we haven't done the tough work leading up to it. The year that I joined the board, we were $6 million in debt. We had no training ground. Our gymnasium mostly was a place where possums lived. So since 2005, you wouldn't really know the place, but you got to keep up with the times. You have to keep improving what you're doing. You have to always think that if you aren't ahead of what's happening, you're behind what's happening. But being part of this great period of time at Richmond has have to be the highlight of my time with AFL. Well, I think the 2021 season will be a difficult one in the sense that we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. The idea that we'll return to what it looked like in 2019, that's not going to be the case, I don't believe. We also are still dealing with COVID and hotspots in different states, and will travel be the same? I don't think anyone wants to return to hubs if they can avoid it. I would love to see fans get back in great numbers at games. We were about to unfurl the 2019 flag, and that game said no fans, so we didn't get to do the flag. So now we have 2 flags. But I think everybody wants to see games in front of crowds. I really don't like to see myself on the screen, and even still photos are, there's some you like and some you just think, I'll just consign that to the rubbish bin for now. But then I think if it's part of getting to tell a story about Richmond, and if it's part of this really wonderful, happy story right now, then that's part of the job too. You do your part.